The Louima incident.
Most horrific thing I've ever had to do.
Yes, and that's what I was alluding to earlier with my partner's father, 40-year veteran like yourself. I don't know anybody that thought, I was a young cop then. I remember going to jobs, and every job I went to, obviously the perps was saying, hey, would you gonna stick your stick inside of me? It was a really tough time for the NYPD at that time. It was a really tough time for us. You talk about that case, and I learned a lot. You guys was on it early on.
We had the case on Sunday.
Yes, but you did not leak it. Why? Why let the news leak it before you got? Because it made the public think that the NYPD was trying to hide this thing.
Which we weren't. Here's the problem. Internal investigations are usually, by their nature, very secretive.
Right.
And we don't have the opportunity to stand up before a press conference and explain to them what we know happened, what we believed happened, and talk about our investigative steps on the way. Mainly because we're going to have to bring this case to a grand jury, whether it's in a state court or in a federal court. As a matter of fact, we did it twice in the Louima case. First in the state court, and then we had to go back and do it again in the federal court. We don't have that opportunity. And there's no prosecutor in the world would want his or her case being discussed with the media while it's in the developmental stages. So you have to keep that as quiet as you can, because maybe we want to take a run at someone. I'll explain that. Take a run at someone who's, we know you were working that night.
Right.
We may sneak up on you one day and say, listen, we know you were working that night. We're going to give you an opportunity to talk. We're going to give you an opportunity to clear yourself in this juncture.
Right.
So we don't want to let everybody...
How many days was it before the news?
The news doesn't... We're on it Sunday. The news doesn't actually hit the papers until Wednesday.
You was pretty pissed that the command center, that detective dropped the ball when the nurse first called.
That was terrible.
So for the public, so there was, you just you created this command center. Detectives are trained. Any call comes in, I don't care who it is, keep them on the line, log this in, do this, do that. And just that night, somebody doesn't come to work and you have to fly somebody in that doesn't have the training. The nurse calls about the Louima incident. I believe something happened. And he tells her to call back, or she says, I'll call back. He makes a rookie mistake, but he's a rookie on the command center. He's an investigator who should have known better, certainly had enough experience and enough training not to make that mistake. But the first night there, he gets a call. She is trying to be coy. She says at first that she's Mr. Louima's wife, but she can't pronounce his name. And she mispronounces his name 2 or 3 times. And he says, well, lady, don't you know the name of your own husband? So she says, well, let me call you back. And that's where he makes his mistake. And he says, well, the first mistake, okay, call me back. Never let the person off the phone. Right. If you can. And then, anticipating her call back, he never says anything to his supervisor. So he compounds his mistake. Was he disciplined?
Yes, absolutely.
That was one of my questions.
Absolutely. And some people may think very harshly because he just bungled a phone call. But the consequences that resulted in that were very serious.
That wasn't just a phone call.
That wasn't a regular phone call.
That was the worst phone call he could imagine.
That's correct.
Yeah.
But some of his supporters were saying the man made a mistake on a phone call. And that's what the union argued at the department trial. Right. But the consequences were far greater than just a phone call.